Neymar is one of the greatest football players of all time. At 19 years old, he was the golden boy of Brazilian football. At 22 years old, he was arguably the greatest dribbler on the planet. And at 25, he became the most expensive player of all time, as he was quite literally unplayable. But as incredible as his rise to the top of football was, there was always one thing missing. He was always just one step away from becoming the best football player in the world. But injuries, bad behavior, and poor career decisions all kept him from reaching that goal.
Neymar!
But the questions remain. Did Neymar really live up to his potential? How good were his prime years of football? And most importantly, how on earth did this poor Brazilian boy become one of the greatest football players on the planet? This is the full story of Neymar. Just like all Brazilian legends, Neymar grew up in a humble household in Sao Paulo, but even from the age of 4, it was clear he was a footballing prodigy. His dad was a former pro footballer himself and knew talent when he saw it, so he mentored his son, who would spend hours practicing his skills with incredible dedication and passion so that his natural ability didn't go to waste. When he wasn't practicing or playing street football with his mates, Neymar would watch videos of his idol Ronaldinho and try to copy his silky skills. By age 11, he joined Santos, one of the top clubs in Brazil, and it's there that he would face a relentless schedule that pushed him further and further, so that by the age of 14, he was so good he was even invited to Spain to try out for none other than Real Madrid. At this point, he and his father were faced with a huge choice to stay in Brazil or fly across the world to Spain, and unlike what many young footballers would choose, Neymar stayed in Brazil with his dad, saying cultural values were the most important thing for his humble family. But as you know, this was not the last time Neymar would get interest from the big European teams, but all that was yet to come, because for now, he was just starting to make enough money playing in Brazil to contribute to his family, and so at 15 years old, they were finally able to buy a house, doing so right outside of the Santos Stadium to give Neymar even better chances of success. By the age of 17, Neymar made his debut for Santos, and it only took him a week before he scored his first goal for the club. He went on to score 14 league goals in that first season, but it was his dazzling dribbling and creativity that really got the fans off their seats and even got sponsors to take note. This is when Nike swooped in, giving Neymar an 11-year contract as, day by day, the world was starting to take note of this young Brazilian boy tearing up football in Brazil. And that was only going to get crazier the next year, because in 2010, Neymar scored an incredible 42 goals in 60 appearances for Santos, leading 14,000 fans to sign a petition that Neymar should be included in the Brazil World Cup squad. But believe it or not, head coach Dunga said he didn't have enough international experience to go to the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, where Brazil would lose out in the quarterfinals. But Neymar wouldn't be too worried, because it wasn't long before Brazil got a new head coach and he would finally make his national team debut. And what a surprise, the 18-year-old scored after just 28 minutes of his debut, making that the first of many goals for the national team. Clubs were also really taking notice now, with Chelsea bidding $20 million for him and West Ham United also trying to get in the race. Neymar rejected these bids, saying he's only focused on Santos, but it was his agent who was pushing for a move, saying he wants to be the best player in the world. The chances of him doing that while playing in Brazil are 0, which, to be fair, is slightly better odds than the chances of it happening at West Ham. But anyway, Neymar's importance for Santos was growing so much that it even came to the point that when he had an argument with the head coach over who gets to take a penalty kick, the club decided to sack the coach, and that decision would prove to be the right one, because Neymar was about to lead Santos to glory as he scored 6 goals in the 2011 Copa Libertadores, including key goals in the semifinals and the final, where he won the Man of the Match award as Santos won South America's top football trophy for the first time since the days of Pele in 1963, meaning all of South America was singing the praise of Neymar Jr. Now, the thing about this period of time is we were seeing the rise of social media, and specifically YouTube clips, meaning that for pretty much the first time in football history, players like Neymar in the Brazilian league were being seen by football fans across the globe, going viral for skill after skill and dribble after dribble. But it was one specific goal which would really announce himself to the world with an incredible solo run against Flamengo, which won the 2011 Puskas Award for the best goal of that year.
Neymar. Facilidade do Neymar. Vai levitando o jogador do Santos. Aí o Neymar protegeu, fez o drible. Que lance do Neymar! Que golaço!
He was also named the 2011 South American Footballer of the Year and came 10th in the Ballon d'Or rankings despite still playing in Brazil. Come the next season, and Neymar would go back-to-back, winning the South American Footballer of the Year again, but now the pressure to move to Europe was mounting. Neymar had the potential to be the best football player in the world, and that destiny was never going to be fulfilled in Brazil. So, in May 2013, Neymar made the move across the Atlantic to sign for one of the biggest football clubs in the entire world, Barcelona. But before arriving in Spain, Neymar had international duty over the summer as Brazil played in the Confederations Cup, and Neymar showed up. He scored 4 goals, being named the player of the tournament as Brazil beat Spain 3-0 to win his first major trophy for the national team. He was the golden boy of the national team, and it looked like he was set to lead them to glory for the next decade. But as we all know, that's not quite what happened, with bad luck and bad habits getting in the way of it all. But more on that later. As it stood, Neymar Jr. was the latest Barcelona signing. He was the golden boy in Brazil, 1 year out of the World Cup, which they were hosting, and he had just placed 5th in the Ballon d'Or. And believe it or not, the story of Neymar was still only getting started. It took 92 million euros to bring Neymar to Barcelona, making him one of the most expensive players in the world for the first time in his career. Real Madrid were also trying to get their hands on him that summer for the second time and had even been willing to pay more. On the pitch, Neymar started the season by winning the Supercopa de España, scoring the only Barcelona goal of the 2-leg match against Atletico. But overall, he failed to live up to the hype and said that for the first season, he felt like he was playing with butterflies in his stomach. He was playing with the likes of Messi, Iniesta, Puyol. Can you really blame him? But still, he still scored 15 goals in what was a rare trophyless season for Barcelona, apart from that Supercopa. But despite the disappointing season by their standards, they were silently building what would be the deadliest attack in football history, and Neymar was ready to grow into a central figure in that team. But before we head into the famous treble-winning season, Neymar headed off to the World Cup, hosted in Brazil, with the weight of the world on his shoulders. He was Brazil's talisman, their star player, and boy did he show it, scoring 4 goals in the group stage as Brazil cruised into the knockouts. They beat Chile on penalties in the round of 16, making it to the quarterfinals, which is when disaster struck for the entire nation. Neymar went to challenge for the ball, but was kneed in the back and fractured his vertebrae, meaning just like that, he left the pitch on a stretcher and his World Cup run was over. Brazil lost their star boy, and things just weren't the same after that. They still got through to the semifinals, but in possibly the most humiliating day in Brazilian football history, they crashed out after a 7-1 demolition job by Germany. Neymar was the diamond in the team, and without him, they lost their soul. This injury was one of the first in Neymar's career, but it was a sign of what was yet to come, as time and time again, it would be recurring injuries that just kept him one step away from becoming the best player in the world. But for now, he headed back to Spain and was ready back in action for the start of the next season. And with Luis Enrique at the helm of Barcelona, they were about to take it to a whole new level. Now, I have a question for you. What do you think happens when you put the most skillful player in the world, the deadliest striker in the world, and the best player in the world all in the same front three? Well, you get MSN, and the 2014-15 season was about to unfold. Neymar started with a bang, scoring 3 goals in his first 100 minutes of football, and despite having just recovered from an ankle sprain, he scored 11 goals in his first 11 league appearances. In the Copa del Rey, he was flying also because Neymar scored twice in the quarters, twice in the semis, and once in the final as Barcelona won the cup, showing the most insane skills and dribbles along the way. Looking over at La Liga, Neymar bagged 22 goals as Barcelona edged Real Madrid out to the title by 2 points, making that a domestic double for the season. But it was the Champions League where Neymar really showed his worth, scoring 10 goals overall, making that the joint most for season, including 3 in the quarterfinals, 3 in the semifinals, and 1 in the final against Juventus as Barcelona completed the treble, and Neymar etched his name into football history as one of the focal points of the deadliest attack in the history of football. Neymar finished the season with 39 goals, and MSN together scored an insane 122 goals. But while Neymar won everything possible for his club that season, he did not win many individual plaudits, and that was due to the M in MSN. While Neymar came third in the Ballon d'Or, his best rank so far, he couldn't surpass Messi, who won the award for a fifth time. And whilst this may not have been a big problem yet, Neymar was starting to feel the shadow he was in and started to wonder whether playing in Barcelona he would ever be able to escape it and really fulfill his potential to become the best player in the world. I mean, all the talk at the time was how Neymar was the prince to take over from Messi and Ronaldo, so surely this was playing on the Brazilian's mind. But in football, you never know what is around the corner. And just 6 games into the next La Liga season, Messi suffered a knee injury that would keep him out of action for 2 months and give Neymar a chance to really step up. And boy, did he shine, as Neymar hit the form of his life, even scoring 4 goals in a single game against Rayo Vallecano and managing to score 13 goals and get 9 assists in just 8 games, leading pundits to say he was the best player in the world at this time, and some of his goals were just insane, like this one against Villarreal, where he flicked the ball over his shoulder and volleyed it in. And these weren't just goals against the small teams, because he was also instrumental in a 4-0 win over Real Madrid, scoring and doing a backheel assist for Andres Iniesta.
Iniesta. Nice lay off, Iniesta! Magnificent finish!
But of course, Messi did come back and Neymar was once again in his shadow as Barcelona won La Liga and the Copa del Rey for a domestic double, whilst Real Madrid won the Champions League, meaning Cristiano Ronaldo picked up the Ballon d'Or for that year as Neymar, yet again, dreamt of being named the best in the world. That summer, Neymar didn't get any rest as Brazil were hosting the Olympics, and the goal was simple: bring Olympic glory to his country, because whilst this was not a World Cup, it was still a trophy worth winning. He scored in the quarterfinal against Colombia and bagged a brace against Honduras in the semis before scoring his 4th of the tournament in the final against Germany, which finished 1-1 and went to penalties. Neymar stepped up to take the 5th and final spot kick for Brazil and scored to win Brazil an Olympic gold medal, which would prove to be the biggest international success of his career. But the Olympics took their toll on Neymar, who missed the start of the 2016-17 season and only managed 14 league goals in total as Barcelona finished 2nd in La Liga. In the Champions League, though, we probably witnessed the greatest comeback in the history of the tournament, spearheaded by none other than Neymar himself, as Barcelona overturned a 4-0 loss in the first leg of the quarterfinals against PSG by coming back to win 6-1 in the second, where Neymar scored 2 late goals and assisted to save the day for his club. But still, the club slumped out of the tournament in the quarterfinals, only winning the Copa del Rey. Now, Neymar is 25 years old, ready to enter the prime years of a football player, and he was really starting to believe he would never escape the shadow of Messi whilst he remained in Barcelona. Suarez and Messi pleaded for him to stay, telling him he will win a Ballon d'Or whilst playing there, but there were other opportunities calling out for Neymar, specifically one over in Paris, as PSG wanted to take their spending to the next level and finally go on to win the Champions League, meaning they prepared a world record €222 million bid to bring the superstar winger over to France, and just like that, MSN lost Neymar, and he was hoping finally he was going to take his rightful place as the best football player in the world. But unfortunately, that wouldn't be so straightforward. Now, obviously, with a transfer fee like that, Neymar was about to receive the paycheck of a lifetime, or so he thought, as his contract at PSG would make him the 2nd highest paid footballer in the world. But while everyone believed the move was to get out from under Messi's shadow and prove how good he was, Neymar's father denied that the move was to improve Neymar's Ballon d'Or chances, and Neymar also said it was partly because many of his Brazilian teammates were at PSG at the time. But the move elevated PSG to a new level and gave Neymar the chance to become a legend at the club if he could deliver a Champions League title. And Neymar started at PSG on fire, scoring on his debut, and said, "People think leaving Barcelona is to die, but I'm more alive than ever." And he had become part of a new deadly trio, not MSN, but CNM, Cavani, Neymar, and Mbappe. And Neymar's hot form put him back in the Ballon d'Or race, finishing in 3rd again, behind, of course, Messi and Ronaldo. And in January, he again bagged 4 goals in a single game against Dijon, including this awesome solo dribble. By the end of February, he had amassed 28 goals and 16 assists in 30 games. But then disaster struck, because just as he was proving that he could shine without Messi, Neymar fractured his metatarsal, ending his season early in what would be one of the many injuries that would come at the worst time. Luckily, he recovered in time to play for Brazil at the 2018 World Cup, where he scored twice and got 2 assists as Brazil once again fell short, this time to Belgium in the quarterfinals. But Neymar's involvement in the World Cup was remembered not for his playing ability, but instead for his rolling around on the floor against Serbia, which was so bad that it became a viral meme, to the point that an actual English newspaper calculated he spent 14 minutes of the tournament clutching his ankle. But all those theatrics were due to the huge number of fouls and injuries he has suffered throughout his career. You see, there was 2 ways to look at it. A dribbler of his quality got so many knocks and hits throughout the last decade that surely he was more vulnerable. But also, he was a bit of a baby. But anyway, by his own high standards, the next season was a disaster, because although he scored almost 1 goal a game up until Christmas and became the top scoring Brazilian ever in the Champions League, another metatarsal fracture stopped Neymar from performing at the business end of the season, and without him, PSG were once again eliminated early from the Champions League. And off the pitch, Neymar got involved in controversy after controversy, including appearing to punch a fan in the face after defeat in the Coupe de France final and skipping the end of season awards to party with Rihanna. Okay, we can excuse this last one, but the lack of game time coupled with the off-the-pitch controversies meant he was not even nominated for the Ballon d'Or. And to cap off a nightmare season, Neymar couldn't even impress for Brazil, as an ankle ligament injury ruled him out of the Copa America, meaning that the one time Brazil won the tournament during his career, Neymar had to watch it on TV. And all this led to Neymar feeling that France didn't appreciate him and even had a vendetta against him, leading to reports he would leave PSG and return to Barcelona, or perhaps even join Real Madrid. And to make matters even worse, Neymar left Barcelona to escape Messi's shadow, but with the amount of injuries he was getting, he was somewhat falling into the shadow of Kylian Mbappe, his new teammate, meaning life was just not going his way. But instead of leaving, he chose to stay at PSG and had his biggest season yet. Fitness issues and the Champions League suspension meant it was a late start for Neymar, who didn't play until PSG's 5th league game, and he also missed several games with a hamstring injury and bruised ribs. But in the 15 league matches he did play before the Ligue 1 season was cut short due to COVID, Neymar scored 13 and got 6 assists as PSG won the league, the cup, and the League Cup to do the domestic treble. But the 2019-20 season was all about the Champions League, and when Neymar could finally play, he helped PSG get past Borussia Dortmund with 2 vital goals in the round of 16 and grabbed an assist to push PSG past Atalanta in the quarterfinals. PSG then beat Leipzig 3-0 in the semis to set up a final against Bayern Munich. But unfortunately, PSG lost that match 1-0, and while it was the furthest Paris Saint-Germain had got in the competition so far in their history, the defeat left Neymar distraught, as he had come so close just to miss out on bringing greatness to Paris. And pundits agreed, with many saying he was the top player of the season, but typically, the Ballon d'Or was cancelled due to COVID, so there's no knowing whether Neymar could have beaten his previous 3rd-place finishes. The following season saw Neymar pick up so many injuries and suspensions that it took him until May before he could play more than 3 league games in a row. First, he had COVID, then got a red card, then had adductor pain, then ankle problems. But despite this, he still managed a goal every 2 games and got 2 big assists against Bayern Munich to push PSG to the Champions League semi-finals. He still tried his tricks and flicks and even got booked in a game against Montpellier for trying a rainbow flick over an opponent, but all of Neymar's absences cost Paris Saint-Germain dearly, as they missed out on the Ligue 1 title, finishing 2nd behind Lille. And if Neymar had moved to PSG to be the main man, then that summer he was in for a shock, as PSG signed his former teammate/rival Lionel Messi, making Neymar the peanut in PSG's M&M attack with Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe. And by this time, Kylian Mbappe had become such a superstar in Paris that Neymar was not even the 2nd in the trio, but the 3rd. And he, of course, started the season with fitness issues and only scored once in the first 12 games of the season, and then an ankle injury would keep him out for all of the winter. So, after such a disappointing season, there were once again rumors of Neymar's departure. But the thing was that when Neymar is fit, he can still be a world beater, and he showed that at the start of the 22-23 season when he scored 7 goals and got 6 assists in the first 5 games, and was even praised by the head coach Christophe Galtier for playing the best form of his time at PSG, and that form came just in time for the 2022 World Cup. But unfortunately for Neymar, Brazil's opening match was against Serbia, who fouled him 9 times throughout the game, and one heavy tackle led to Neymar damaging his ankle ligaments, meaning he missed the rest of the group stage. He returned and scored in the round of 16 against South Korea and got Brazil's only goal in the draw against Croatia in the quarterfinals, but Brazil would lose on penalties, and Neymar would once again miss out on a major international trophy. And not long after that, an ankle injury against Lille would mean Neymar would miss the rest of the season too, as he just went from one disaster to another. That would be the last time he would play for PSG, who had a complete squad overhaul, even getting rid of Messi. And while there were glimpses of his genius at PSG, injuries meant Neymar only managed to play more than 30 games a season during his time in Paris, and Neymar even said, "I was in a position to win the Ballon d'Or, but injuries made it difficult." But while he was linked with a return to Barcelona, Neymar's high wage demands and injury record weighed heavily on any club looking to sign him. So when a huge offer came in from Saudi Arabia, Neymar took it. And at that point, Saudi Arabia had attracted some of the biggest stars, from Cristiano Ronaldo to Karim Benzema, but the biggest club in Saudi Arabia, Al Hilal, needed a statement signing of their own. And they targeted Neymar, offering him $150 million a year to be the jewel in their crown. This was a statement by Neymar, almost a step down from the top of football, an admission he was no longer looking to be the best in the world as he chased the money over glory, and the story just gets sadder from here. Neymar arrived in Saudi Arabia with a slight injury, and it took him until September before he played his first match, getting 2 assists in 26 minutes. And around that time, he would play 4 games for Brazil, including a 5-1 win over Bolivia, where he would score his 78th and 79th goals for his country, making him Brazil's all-time top goal scorer, ahead of even the legendary Pelé. And he would also get his 58th assist, which is the joint most of any footballer in international football. But in a match against Uruguay, he would go from these heights to the lowest point possible as he tore his ACL, and this injury would rule him out for the rest of the season, as once again, bad luck and injuries prevented Neymar from shining, as he had only played 5 games for Al Hilal at that point, and while he did play a few minutes in 2 games the following season in the Asian Champions League, his time in Saudi Arabia came to an abrupt end, with the head coach Jorge Jesus saying Neymar can no longer perform at the level we're used to. And his huge cost for the club of almost 400 million euros for around 420 minutes of football meant Al Hilal paid Neymar almost €1 million per minute of football, causing many to label the move as the worst signing in the history of football. So, after this mess, Neymar decided to return to a club where he was loved and where he made a name for himself. He returned to Santos, and despite more injuries, Neymar seems to have found some of his form back at his hometown club, but still nothing compared to the beautiful football we saw his first time at Santos. Now 33 years old, it looks pretty clear that Neymar's career at the top of the game is over. And despite many labeling him as the prince who never became the king, I prefer to remember him as one of the most skillful players football has ever seen, and a player who inspired millions to play football the right way. What a legend! Now, if you enjoyed this video, the one on screen is a good one too. I promise you'll enjoy it.